Hello, this is Eli Butler. This is functionally the middle of the midterm, midterm for the midterm. Just kind of updating on where the game's at right now. You can see all the different components I have, and at least the unique blueprints. I have a no blueprint section that just has the two things. Some minor modifications have really been made to the third-person character, and I think it was really just adding the death and life component. There's also a healing item component that exists. Haven't added it to anything, but I will eventually be adding a pumpkin to this game. We'll see if that opens without crashing everything, but pretty simple custom event. As the third person, because I didn't remember to name it, would heal them by whatever amount goes in here. The amount will become a variable, so it will be adjustable depending on whatever pumpkin size will probably be the more depending factor of what actually how much it heals. The biggest things really in here is the ghoul alive, which has a little bit of their own shenaniganery going on because of pawn sensing, and then ghoul animations has probably the most work currently put in it. This isn't too much over here, but then when we go, oh, because we're already in the middle of something, aren't we? So our event graph's pretty terrifying too, generally speaking, not too much. Then you have this. I'm not going to bother clicking into each one of these individually because I could. I would. It does seem to kind of get stuck up here generally. It's supposed to only do that when it gets to a certain range of you. I will need to look into that farther. Otherwise, summon to idle to walk those flies to idle again, depending on how much their speed was working fully correctly. Can at least show that. That's a pretty understandable one. It's like, yeah, just 2 speed over 0, and then the other one's the opposite of that. Health component is very similar to what we had last time. There's just some various missing things. Take damage is where it's at. Took me a while to fix a couple things in here. Because obviously it doesn't copy paste over everything correctly from your previous one. Spawn enemy. It's legit the same one I've used before. Had to recreate some variables. But still something I've personally created on my own by following a video that I did a long time ago. Windmill rotate, it is literally just here to have the windmill asset have a slow rotation to it. Attack range is a character component that I haven't really gotten to utilize too much because I think something within this is wrong to compare the two distances to the vector to greater than or equal to this value. But yeah, and then once you're within that range, you're supposed to be able to either actually be able to attack true, false, to not be able to attack. And that's kind of probably why the ghoul animation is getting stuck here. Although there is something else I did within that, but it is still not functioning or need to be. Goblin Dead is just kind of a funny thing towards like, if it's here, it kind of just deadpans. And originally I was trying to get that to be the first enemy I was going to function in the game, but ghouls are kind of just where I fell down the path, and it's like, yeah, they exist now. There's only one enemy. Eventually, the spawn enemy things will, of course, be used to spawn them. The health component is currently being used for just for everyone. It's a character component, so it's been added to the ghoul. It's been added to you. Range, attack range, health components, stuff like that. It's all gonna be added to everyone. Death components might become more unique, though I think I might have it set to a point to where it's like a death animation, and then there'll be a delay variable on it that everyone can change, like a death delay. And depending on how long your death animation is, then your character actor will be destroyed afterwards. That, or I'll leave you just deadpan bodied around. I'll throw one of these on here just to kind of show what that looks like, because I really enjoy these. And starting in game, I guess an important thing to mention is there's no way of taking damage currently. But yeah, it does a summon animation, which you kind of saw there at the very end of it. Otherwise, it's just going after you with attack animations. Once you get to a certain distance, it's supposed to just go for its normal walk animation, but it doesn't seem to be doing that, or maybe I'm misinterpreting how far distance certain things are. Let's get out of here before he traps us in there, because that's a potential function of the game. You can see the fans moving slowly. We do have a little bit of an invisible border here, so we can't really fall off the ledge too easily. Here's the kind of dead body I was talking about before, kind of kick around. Got some little foliage around here. Once again, you can't take damage right now. You do have a health component, but the attack is not set yet to where when it hits you, it actually does damage. Because I was trying to get it to a point where something else is going to happen. Because I was really just trying to work really hard on the animation part of it today. Because I figured once I got one of them done, kind of copy pasting the logic of it at the very least to the others would be quite easy. I also kind of want to get this guy to a point where he can go through objects. Can't quite do that yet. He's also a bit stupid, but honestly, I'm fine with that part of it. And then once they die, once you get them down to 0, however, we're going to be dealing damage to them. I have an idea towards like when you collect pumpkins, it can be used for either healing or it can be used to deal damage to certain things, kind of like an area of effect. Flame maybe around you. There will be multiple spawn points for the enemies. There's probably also going to be a lot of healing items just up here because I think this would be a fun place to have all the bunch of pumpkins throughout the roof. I do also intend just to create an actual fence around here. Chances are it still will stay a square. I could make it more of a rounded square at the very least just to give it a little bit more zest. Yeah, this is where we're at. Sky Dome's pretty nice. Came with the assets that came with these. As long as you're not on the border, they do seem a bit more natural. Originally, we are going to use a different kind of grass, but I really do just like the wheat that comes with it because obviously it makes more sense for the thing. I probably should just made way more plains so this texture is more tightly together and looks more realistic. But not an art class, it is a programming class. So here we are. That's all there really is to update for now. A lot of the basic logic is kind of out of the way. Getting the animations working for the ghouls is honestly the biggest thing. Because within Ghouls Alive, if I go to like normal stuff, it's either in here or maybe it's in the skeleton mesh. Hmm. It should be kind of like this thing, use animation blueprint. And then we go over the track. Yeah. So you can see here it's using the lich skeleton. I don't know why I call them ghouls. There's another thing in here that are also ghouls, but those are more like zombies. And of course use animation blueprint. And that's where we get to pick our little animation blueprint from. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Obviously hoping to make more progress as we go. Should hopefully have it finished out soon.